Hello my fellow UFC fans, my name is Joan and today I'm going to be giving you guys my prediction for the UFC 276 Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. I'm going to be starting on the preliminary card, not the early prelims, because I'm not going to lie, I don't know any of the fighters on the early prelims. Just going to say who I'm going to go for, just randomly, alright? First up, we have Jessica Rose Clark versus Julia Stollyarenko. I don't know these fighters. Again, I will learn their names eventually. But I'm just gonna give this one to Jessica Rose Clark. Why? Because there's a picture of her with pink and blue hair, and that's cool. Up next, we're going Brad Tavares versus Dariush Dupre. Don't know either of these fighters, but I did look up some of their highlights. I'm gonna go for Brad Tavares. Why? Because Brad rhymes with rad. Women's flyweight, it's gonna be Jessica I versus Macey Barber. Don't know either of this, but Macey, because Macy's. Middleweight, Uriah Hall versus Uriah Hall versus Andre Munhoz. I think I'm gonna go for Andre Munhoz. Uriah Hall is a good fighter. He lost a lot against a lot of good fighters, like the top name fighters. Let me pull up his record. So Uriah Hall is in the middleweight division. He has lost against Kelvin Gastelum. It's Kevin Gastelum, that guy's insane. He's lost against Brunson. He's lost against Robert Whittaker, Paulo Costa. All of these fighters have been beat by Izzy, the main title fight. So who knows? Maybe he'll change his luck back around. He lost against Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's also fighting this event, but who knows? Who knows who's gonna take this one? I think I'm gonna go for Andre Munhoz though. So Jessica, Brad, Macey, and Andre. Next up, preliminary cards that I actually like, or fighters that I actually know. First one, Jim Miller versus Donald Cerrone. It was supposed to be somebody else there. I forgot who was supposed to be there instead. Jim Miller is already an OG, and he was supposed to fight Bobby Green, but Bobby Green pulled out because I honestly don't know why, but he pulled out and Donald Cerrone stepped in last minute. He was supposed to fight UFC Fight Night, Qatar versus Emmett, but Joe Lauzon couldn't make the fight because he like dislocated his knee or something. He said it in a video. He just like popped it back into place or something. So Donald Cerrone canceled that fight. He's going to fight here in the next event. But Jim Miller versus Donald Cerrone. I think I'm gonna go for Jim Miller just because I was watching some of their highlights, both of them, Jim Miller and Donald Cerrone. Donald Cerrone, I've seen him fight before. He does pretty good, but recently he hasn't been doing all that great. I think he's honestly just on his last fights, and he is. I don't know about this one. I feel like Jim Miller is gonna take this one. So my guess, Jim Miller. That's my prediction. Next up, Iangary versus Gabe Green. Gabe Green's a freaking beast. This fool can fight. I was watching again some of his highlights, and everyone talks up on him for a reason. He's insane. Iangary versus Gabe Green. I think I'm gonna give it to Gabe Green. That's my prediction. Next up, Robbie Lawler versus Brian Barber. Robbie Lawler was a welterweight champion. That fool can fight. I'm excited for this one. I don't know why he's all the way down in the preliminary card, but this is gonna be a good fight. Robbie Lawler, that's my decision against Brian Barber. He won against Nick Diaz on his last fight. He lost against Kobe Covington, but Kobe Covington is something else.
Greetings, nerds and virgins.
He lost against Ben Askren? No fucking way he lost against Ben Askren. Oh, he got that stupid choke. I remember now.
I'm good. I mean, it happens. I mean,
So yeah, that fight against Ben Askren, it was some controversial stoppage. Call that bullshit. He didn't lose against Ben Askren. Ben Askren, I don't know why he's in here. My vote is Robbie Lawler. Brad Riddell versus Jalen for the lightweight fight. Lightweight fight, Brad Riddell versus Jalen Turner. I watched some of their highlights, never seen them fight, so again, this is gonna be one of my first impressions on them, kind of like. But from what I did see, I saw Brad was very sharp. Jalen Turner, I haven't seen too much of him. I saw his first fight, his debut fight, he got knocked out. That sucked. Or I actually saw one of his full fights. I saw two of his fights, and very good knockouts, very good fights. Good job. I feel like Jalen's gonna take this one. That's gonna be my vote. Jalen Turner for the lightweight fight against Brad Riddell. Moving on to the main card. Starting off strong already, we got Pedro Munhoz versus Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley is a great fighter. He only has one loss on his record. He got knocked out that time. It looked brutal, but hey, it is what it is. He's been doing great. His fights are amazing. Now he has some good punches.
With microband 20.
What the fuck? But Sean O'Malley is a great fighter overall. A lot of people are going for Sean O'Malley on this one. I think I'm gonna go the opposite way, and I'm gonna go for Pedro Munhoz just because he has some great fights on his belt. He fought against Dominic. He fought against Dominic Cruz, lost against him, but still great overall fight. He really showed that he can take on a champion for sure. So, Sean O'Malley versus Pedro Munhoz. This is going to be a great fight. I don't want one or the other to win. I'm just excited for this fight in general. But if I were to go for one, I'm going to go for Pedro Munhoz. I think that's going to be my guess for this one. But not saying Sean O'Malley has no chance against him. I feel like this is going to be a great challenge for both Sean O'Malley and Pedro Munhoz. I'm glad that Sean O'Malley is actually taking one of these fights. Pedro Munhoz is definitely one of those fighters. He's definitely going to be one of those high-level fighters that he has to take on. So it's going to be a big challenge for Sean O'Malley. Wonder what's going to happen. Lauren Murphy versus Miesha Tate. Don't know anything about them. Didn't their fight get canceled? Lauren Murphy and Miesha Tate is not happening anymore. Moving on, middleweight class. We're going Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira. Sean Strickland's an amazing fighter, and Alex Pereira is good too. He knocked out Israel Adesanya back in the day, middleweight. So if Sean Strickland loses against Alex Pereira, which I don't think is gonna happen, I think Sean Strickland might take this one. If he loses against Alex Pereira is going to be, he's moving on with the chance of fighting Israel Adesanya later on in the future. Alex Pereira versus Sean Strickland. Yeah, Sean Strickland's an amazing fighter. I think I'm gonna go for Sean Strickland, and I think he's gonna take it. That is my vote. Moving on to the main card, well, co-main card. Featherweight division for the title. Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. They fought twice already. Both great fights. I think the first one, it was pretty close. I feel Alexander took it. That's that. But the second fight, I think Max Holloway took it. I feel like they gave that one to Alexander Volkanovski. Max Holloway seemed to be the more impressive fighter in that one. I feel like Max Holloway took that fight. I rewatched the fight like 2 days ago with my dad, and I think that, yeah, that was a robbery. I think Max Holloway took that fight. But they're fighting again for the third time, and I'm hoping, I don't know, Alexander Volkanovski is my favorite fighter. Maybe either one or my favorite fighter in the UFC. He's a great fighter all around, both ground and striking. I don't know. Alexander the Great versus Max Holloway. I want either of them to win. I'm gonna be happy with whoever wins. But I know that for this one, Max Holloway needs to go for the knockout because no more judges scorecards bullshit. I don't know this one. I can't tell who's gonna win this one. I think Alexander Volkanovski is gonna take it, but I'm hoping Max Holloway takes it for the third time. Because that second fight was definitely his. There's no way about it. Going for Max Holloway, but I think Alexander Volkanovski is going to take it. And then the main title event is going to be Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier being from the heavyweight division, going down to lightweight and then down to middleweight, I don't think it's that much of a problem besides him having the power behind his punches because of the weight that he used to have. So he's able to knock out heavyweights. He's definitely going to be able to knock out middleweights. The only thing he has to worry is the knockout power, honestly. Not that Israel doesn't have any. We've seen this fucker knock out some people. On paper, Israel Adesanya is going to win it. I feel like Israel can take him for sure. I think he's going to come out with the dub. But Jared Cannonier does have a great chance. Jared Cannonier has a high chance in winning this fight, not counting him out at all. I think Israel Adesanya is going to be more tactical with it. Israel Adesanya is very confident in beating him, though. He says he wants the hard fights. He knows this is a hard fight. So for him not to take it is going to be such a silly decision. I'm glad he took it. He's ready for anything. Israel Adesanya is going to beat Jared Cannonier, and that is my guess. Hope for the best for Jared Cannonier. Hope you do well. So just to sum up the main card, I'm going Pedro Munhoz, not by a lot, just because I saw some of his highlights. I think he might take it, but hopefully Sean O'Malley does great. Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira. I'm going for Sean Strickland. Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. I think Alexander Volkanovski is going to take the fight and then move on to the lightweight division, just like he said. He wants to be a 2-division champion in the featherweight and in the lightweight division. So we're going to see him fight some extraordinary fighters. Let's see how that goes. Israel Adesanya versus Jared Cannonier for the main title event. Going Israel Adesanya, but Jared Cannonier does have a very, very high chance of taking on Israel Adesanya and getting the dub over him. So we'll see what has to happen. July 2nd, UFC 276, Israel Adesanya versus Cannonier is going to be a packed title card. Literally all of the main card and some of the preliminary card are going to be like main event worthy type fights. Hope you guys are excited. I'm very excited too. Let me know who you guys think is going to win. Compare my answers to your answers. Who knows? We're going to be expecting great fights all night long. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys happen to enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe. Turn on your post notification bells. All my socials are going to be down below. And as I see you guys when the fight starts, I guess.